Okay, all right. Second live. This is the second live I'm doing, and if I don't expect anyone to be watching these, quite frankly, I really don't. This is more if anyone happened to, which I think like a friend of mine, a friend of mine that I mentioned in the video, watched the first one for his support. So that's fantastic. But these are just to get me out of my perfectionist shell and just no editing, just raw and just put stuff up there. And then, and whatever thoughts tend to materialize, because that oftentimes happens when you're doing stuff like this, when you're even rehearsing a speech and talking to your walls, you're sharing such great wisdom and profound insight to your room walls. Still, things come together. Like that's how, and I think we need to be giving ourselves permission, because I used to not do this, but we need to give ourselves permission to think out loud, to think out loud and have the permission for to do that, so things can, in order to have things come together and naturally fall into place. Anyway, where I left off on the last video, it ended up being long, because that's what happens when you think out loud. It was something like almost like a 20-minute video where I was going, the whole point of it, I wanted to hit record and talk about something that I have had an accidental discovery of having a knack for. And when I first did it back in 2017, back in, I think it was November, October, November, somewhere around there in 2017, the first time I ever did it for a client, the client called the next day and said, "Hey, Drew, thanks for that conversation we had last night. I took it today and I went out and I got 2 clients with it." I'm like, "All right, good for you. Who's awesome? You know, you are." And then I'm thinking, what do we even, what did we talk about yesterday? What do you mean you took what we talked about and went out and got 2 clients? I'm not tracking, you know. It was that. And so, hold on, let me do a little tappy tap on my face here, see if it follows me around. Okay. So that was that. And I was just, this is also top of mind because I've been reading or listening to this audiobook version of "You Are the Brand" by Mike Kim. I've met Mike. I don't think he knows who I am, but I'm good friends with his partner, which was also another, what I'll call this knack thing that I'm talking about. I call it the Hudge Factor. All right. His pal Dwayne, similar to me, a marketing agency guy type, and takes on a lot of, that can be a broad definition, but Dwayne, we tackle a lot of the same things, and I was working with Dwayne just as a pal, just like, coaching him on it. So I wasn't the one that figured out, like I did with the first guy with Armando. Dwayne figured it out, but we took our time with it. We went back. It wasn't like a front burner type of pressing problem. But as we had time, we would revisit it. And then finally he nailed something down. And there came this day, I'm like, "Dwayne, oh my gosh, this is trash everything you've ever done until now. Because this is the simplest, like, mic drop thing I have ever seen." And what it is this, it ends up being an incredible sales pitch. But it's really it's a unique mechanism, it's a foundation for doing everything you do. It's a very top level overview, very top level way of communicating what you do. No one needs to get into the weeds. So it's very much what I call bumper rails. So it's a very bumper rails type of way of describing and communicating your value, what you promise. You can make promises all day long, but they're just claims. And until someone really, it's hard to get, the hardest thing I think is to get first of all, to have a good mechanism, to have a good path, to have a good pair of bumper rails that will lead you to make more strikes. Not guaranteeing that you're going to roll nothing but strikes, but at least you're going to start knocking down a lot more pins. So it's hard to come up with that, because someone has to really be able to sink their teeth into what you're laying down. They have to really be able to, not just like this know, like, and trust thing. They have to have faith in the method, in the path. And it can't be oversimplistic. That's why I'm not anti 3-step process. A lot of people say, "Oh, you got to turn what you do into a 3-step process." That's fine. That's fine for the beginning journey. But as that prospect becomes closer to you, and they're coming closer to making a decision if they really are going to work with you, I do think it's not. I think it's beyond reasonable that you have a 4 or 5 or up to a 6-step framework, some kind of phase that they can see themselves, they can relate to, they can put themselves going through. And that was Dwayne. He did that. I was thinking about Dwayne because I was talking about Mike Kim. I was talking about his book, and let me jump back to that because in the audiobook, it's kind of nice. He's got some bonus content, and so he will interview some people, and I'd saw on the front end because I just started listening to it a couple of days ago. So it might be like chapter 2, I can't remember, chapter 2 or 3. And some guy, I don't even know the guy's name, but he's talking about, hey, when you have a problem and you solved it for yourself, that gives you authority. And it got me thinking about this pivot that I'm being forced to. That's not a bad thing, all right? But that's just life. That's just the cards I've been dealt here, and it's good. It's like sometimes we have to be forced to pivot, and the pot of gold down the way is anyway. You get what I'm saying. Back to what Mike's guest was saying, because I can't remember the guest name, but he said something like you have to solve the problem for yourself, and then people can collect the trust and invest into your thing, invest into what you're saying. I like to say sink their teeth into it. I got that from a friend of mine, Randy. I'm going to give you credit for that. Randy Schwantz, that's who it was. Sink your teeth into. And so they have to be able to sink their teeth into something. And the issue that I've always had is like, you know what, I haven't done this for myself, or maybe I have, and I haven't thought about it so much, when people come on board. But most of what I've done is people have always come on board for a digital marketing thing. Hey, I need a website. Hey, I need some emails. I need an email launch written, or some kind of video project. And then they'll come on board. And then what I'll end up doing for them is this, what I call the proprietary method. And then I'll kind of like sneak it in there because it is so foundational. I can't even overstate this. It's so foundational that if I'm really going to help you, I can't continue on without figuring it out. So I'm just going to share some of the stories there because my point with Mike Kim's, again, You Are the Brand, that book, listening to that book, the bonus content of his interview with Guy, I don't remember, claiming that you must have had to have solved this for yourself. Well, that does not fit me. I wouldn't consider that I've solved it for myself, but I'll share some of the other, because I disagree with them. I think if you've solved it for other people. So I mentioned Armando, I mentioned Dwayne, I'll mention Deborah. Deborah was she was a service provider, a local. Her service. She can't scale to the whole United States. It's a local, regional kind of service. And she was the type of person, there was one step in the Hudge Factor. Actually, the middle step has everything to do with your deliverables, right? And I'd say, the Hudge Factor is this proprietary method to deliver a proprietary method, a unique mechanism to everyone else. They can have something that they truly can overlap their authority with, and this unique mechanism that they can promise that they can communicate that. It's so much simpler, so much easier to make sales. But with Deborah, I struggled. I'll just put it out there. I struggled to really come up with something that was really unique, something that wasn't so commoditized, because some people, they do things and it is more of a commodity, right? It might not matter if you get your, I don't know, power washing through this or this or this. You got to have something really special about your power washing, and you got to be able to communicate that. So with Deborah, I was running into that. But there was a pinnacle moment where we had about an hour and a half session, and we just sat down, and it was a Zoom call, even though she actually lives not far away. And I just kept going back and forth with her. Like, okay, let's list out what you can do, what energy you need to deliver this basket, this bucket, this column of like a checklist. Can you do this? Can you do this? Okay. And then we went and moved on to the next one. And then we just kept massaging, we kept bouncing around to 3 tiers to figure out a 3-tiered pricing. And so this is still relevant because the Hudge Factor comes into play because of the deliverables phase, that milestone. And her story was, she had a sale. Someone she went to and said, after we figured out her pricing, she had, I'll share some numbers. She had about $800 a month. That was her middle tier. She had about $800 a month pricing tier. And fortunately, it was something that she wasn't going to be running around like a headless chicken trying to deliver like she had been. And also, she was going to stop putting all of these options in front of the face of her prospects to say, here you go, here's a big menu, and you just choose what you want. Meanwhile, the prospects are thinking like, what? I'm not the I'm not the expert on this. That's you. You solve this problem. So I tried to put that back on her, but again, make it easier. So we had a proprietary method, but specifically speaking to Deborah's point, it was the deliverables. It was almost like a pricing strategy. But again, it's broader than that. It's the deliverables, and we had to figure out something where she could feel good with delivering X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C for 1 level, and then 2 level, and then step it up to a 3rd level. And we figured out what she could bonus and all that. And that's when she went back to people that said, you know what, I'm interested. I just don't know what I could do beyond about $400. Well, one person came back and said, you know what, put me down for double, because we also visually structured these tiers in such a persuasive way that hit on some neuro triggers, some where they could see the value kind of compared next to each other. So that was important for her. So there was that. I think of another individual. Let me go to another individual. His name is Luis. He is one that when eventually on the site, on the nextdayclients.com website, I'll put these little badges up there. There's an idea I have. Because certain people have certain, almost like when you're playing a video game and you get this badge. Oh, you do it in Audible. They gamify this. When I listen to audiobooks, and if I listen to it, I was in the app this morning, and I was a night owl, I guess, because I listened to a book while I was asleep or something. I dozed off to sleep. So these badges, anyway, I want to put Luis as a Next Day Client badge winner. He was the one. Really struggled a little bit because I came up with this framework, this system, this proprietary method, this unique mechanism that he could promise, that he could communicate, much simpler than what he was trying at the time. And I had to kind of whiteboard it. I took my phone to the whiteboard, I hit record, and I just went through, and I couldn't get the presentation under 25 minutes. I even edited it, and I said, here you go, and I sent it to him. It was 25 minutes. I think I shaved like 3 minutes out of it. And he watched it. To his credit, he watched it on a Sunday night, when he had some time before he was going back in the office, sent me an email the next day and said, hey, Drew, guess what? I had 2 conversations this morning, two sales. That's going to be like, between $4,000 and $5,000, to our studio with what we're selling, depending on who takes the work. But again, I'm floored, because this is the stuff that Armando, the very first guy that ever did this for, he told me that this was possible, and some of these people are going to be reporting that they're able to scale, they're able to sell much easier. And I'm thinking, okay, you're very sweet, but it's just not that big a deal. Who else? Carol and Patrick, I wrote down here. They have a pest control business, and it was the same thing. They came and they said, hey, can we do a new website? And I snuck this method in, and I said, okay, check it out. We can do the website, but I'm going to be putting this on in different parts of your marketing too. And we even printed it on the back of their business card. And it was just a simple 5-step process that also increased the likelihood of subscription, So I taught them, it was so simple that Carol even said that she had a history of, in a past life, she was she got sent to some kind of sales camp, some kind of 6-week seminar or something like that, where they really got nitpicky about sales and how to go about everything in the science of being persuasive, I guess, and making a sale. And she said, man, that back of that business card, those 5 steps, this is so simple that basically anyone we have working for us, which are not salesmen, anyone we have can be basically a salesman. And that's exactly what Armando said, right? Armando's the first guy that said, I got 2 clients the next day. So and then they started closing deals. It was great. I called Carol one time and I said, hey, can I interview you? You have, and I do have her interview. actually a few times. But I said, you told me that you really stepped it up from residential contracts and started stepping up to contracts that are a couple $1,000, or breaking the $2,000 barrier. And she said, oh, it's okay. It's been a while since we've talked, because they hit 5 and 6K contracts because they were taking care of commercial properties, and they had this real unique, like super simple, like when it's dialed in, it's dialed in. When it's nails, it's nails. And so they had this super simplistic framework for just communicating their value and how they could compete up against the big, I don't know, big box pest control, the ones that everyone sees expensive commercials on TV for. So that was their story. I'll tell one more. No, I got another one, but I'll tell one more. This next one is, his name is Michael, and he's a farmer, and we met and we were teaching. He was wanting to launch a membership. There was nothing, you know what, I'll save this because it's kind of unique. It's not a direct to sales. We actually had to create this method. I created this method on his behalf. He still uses it today in his signature training. If you're to join his membership, he's got a signature training. This was years ago, but I had to have something to write these emails. So I was the beneficiary, because as a copywriter, I needed to reference something without spelling it out each and every time, which is a good thing as a copywriter, because if you've studied copy at all, you know that if you can like flip these little triggers, hit these little curiosity triggers, like, oh, what's he referencing? Tell me more about that. But I'm unpacking one particular thing about the method, in the moment. It's just too much to do everything. That's the beauty of what this framework lets anyone do. So I wanted to share that in my journey. Yes, pivoting. Yes, being forced to pivot. What am I doing? I'm finally going to be working on that. And now here's the question: can I do it for myself? So recently I was invited to join another entrepreneur, the founder of this company. And I said, you know what? This is the chance. All this stuff that I've done for other people, let me turn the tables on myself, and let's see if we can do it for us, for me and my new partner. And so that will be part of the journey. Time will tell. I have it. I figured it out. I took the first 2 weeks and just hit it hard and studied. There's a way that I study and no, it's not all with, I'm trying to think if I used AI at all. Yeah, a little bit, but I'll say that for another meeting too. But you land on it, and so far I haven't gotten like the AI. Anyway, I haven't cracked that code. If it's like, oh, Drew, you could be saving thousands of hours and using AI. Not saying I don't use it to help, but it has to really, like, these things can't, when you dial in your framework, your unique mechanism, your proprietary method, as I call it, when you have that dialed in, there's got to be like a gut reaction, and I just haven't found that. Maybe I'm not that great of a prompter. I don't know. I just haven't found that the AI stuff absolutely like wallops me in the gut, where it's like, boom, that's it. You got it. That's everyone. And when you share it, like, everyone instantly gets it. Like, they get this epiphany. They not only that, but they can sink their teeth into something. It makes the intangible tangible. And it can be, it's like your sales philosophy. It's your deliverables philosophy. It's your philosophy on how you treat people. It's all that wrapped into it. And it just really helps people get real clear on how they communicate. Now, I wrote down my notes from the last, here it is. The last video, and I was going to say one thing, like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do to get going? And I'll leave you with this. I'm going to clean up some clutter. It's so easy in this pivot phase. I want to make some videos. They include some music. I want to be a little creative, and I got to clear out some clutter. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Clutter tends to stack up. I'll keep you informed on what that. I was going to take this. I was going to take this little camera. I was going to walk around and see, just show you some of my clutter. I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to worry about it. Let's not even worry about that. Yeah, it's just pointless. It's pointless. So I got to move some stuff around. Even this right here, even this angle, like you see my weird curtains back there. It's just a bunch of felt. This is like a makeshift studio from a client, and they gave me those, and so I brought them home and I put them in. I'm in the basement. It actually like makes a nice little insulating curtain right there. But it's not. It doesn't look. I don't look like some kind of awesome YouTuber with that kind of stuff. So, all right, there you go. Thinking out loud through that process, breaking down I really just need to just make a video, just focus on one at a time, these case studies, and which will come, that'll come. And I'm going to sign off right there. So, Anti-Perfectionist live stream number 2 in the can later.